There is one source of greenhouse gas that has been with us for decades. According to IPCC report 2022, which is the most recent report about climate change, it shows that this source of greenhouse gas contribute up to 15% of the total global emissions in 2019. And we just can't stop using it. We just can't stop this source of emission because it's so attached to our life, to our daily routines that we cannot just cut it off. It's also the problems about the infrastructures, about the way that we build our homes, our buildings, our streets, and our roads. That's one source of emissions. We're gonna discover it today. And what can we do about it? What is the best solution to cut this off? Let's begin our video. Hey yo, what's up everyone? Long time no see. It has been 2 years from the last video that I have uploaded on this channel. There's a lot of things happened for me in the past 2 years. Let's catch up a little bit, shall we? As you guys know that I was born in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. Now I have fly all the way to Western Australia. So I am studying Master of Environmental Science at ECU, which is located in Western Australia. That's why I'm here. So before we get into the point of this video, I think I need to introduce why am I creating this video. When I was much younger, when I was like 12, 11 years old, somehow I have already has some awareness about the environment and it's not a pleasant feeling. So maybe the other kid gonna be like playing video games all day, talk about stuff that they, like the stuff that kid always wondering. Me, myself, I always wondering why there's so much traffic on the road. Why there's always traffic jam? Even back then, 10 years ago, Ho Chi Minh City has a lot of traffic jam. I have always wondered about the stuff like that. And sometimes when my father take me from my home to my school to study, when I sit behind him, I always have the feeling that the air is so hard to breathe because of all of the smoke from the cars, bus, motorbike, and it just really annoys me. I just want to have some kind of superpower. The power not like Superman, like really strong. Not like every kid like to be a Superman, right? Flying on the sky, strong, save people. At that time, I didn't wish for any of that superpower. The one and only superpower that I wish that I have when I was a kid is the ability to grow trees everywhere. You know what I mean? Because when I was such a young age, I seen motorbike everywhere. The air is so hard to breathe because of all the smoke from the motorbike, cars, bus, and it's also dangerous for kids too. When I want to play soccer in front of my house, I always constantly have to be careful, have to look out for motorbike that come into the street because there was no place for kids like me to play. It's just vehicle everywhere. That's why I want to have a power to grow trees everywhere. For example, I can grow trees that block all of the street in front of my house so that no bike, no car, no vehicle can enter it and I have a place to play. As I was 10, 12, 11 years old, I was pretty much aware of the environment around me and some kind of environmental pollution that caused by the cars, the vehicles on the street. And when I started using bicycle, I promised to myself that I'm not gonna use a motorbike or cars. I'm gonna use my bicycle for the rest of my life. And yeah, I actually really consistent with this idea. The idea that I don't have to use a motorbike. That I want to show people it is so much better to use a bicycle because it is so environmental friendly. It's healthy. It's the way that you can exercise every day. When I was a kid, that was my idea. And I keep riding my bike even when I was in high school, where all the other kids at the time, from boys to girls, they all have a motorbike. Motorbike is one of the most dominant vehicles in Vietnam. When everybody else is flexing about their motorbike, like they got new motorbike, it looks good, I'm still using my bicycle that my mother bought for me since secondary school. And I was still very consistent. It feels pretty lonely too. Like it feels like I'm the only one who want to use the bicycle. And also all of the guys that have a motorbike, they all have girlfriends that they can carry behind, and I'm on the bicycle, that's it. So it's really a frustrating experience for me as a kid, but I just keep using my bike. But then everything changed. You know what changed? I met my wife. When you have girlfriends, you cannot use the bike anymore. Because, for example, my house and her house is pretty far from each other. If you ride the bike every day, it's gonna be very exhausting. The bike is really slow. You must understand that it is really hot in Vietnam. Not cool like in Australia or the Western country. So using a bike is not a really convenient option. That's when I have a new motorbike, and I must say that it was so convenient to use a motorbike in Vietnam. You can go anywhere, it's really fast, it can also carry a lot of stuff too, it's really cheap too, it's not so expensive. That's a really good way of transportation, even though the traffic in Vietnam is really bad. Right now, there is traffic jam almost every hours in the day, even in the weekend. That is how crazy traffic right now in Vietnam. If you call in Vietnam today, you will see it, specifically in Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi. If you ask me why do people use motorbike so much, let's consider something here. So the first means of transportation is public transport, right? It is very cheap. It can carry you to a lot of places in, for example, Ho Chi Minh City. But the public transport system in Ho Chi Minh City is not really good. It takes you like 20 to 30 minutes to catch a bus. The bus is really old. There's not many new bus out there. The frequency is pretty low. That's not a very good option. So how about cars? Cars have air conditioners. Car is safe. Car can go fast. So why not using a car? It's about money. In Vietnam, when you buy a car, you have to pay a lot of tax. I mean a lot of tax. If you buy a car in Vietnam, it might be more expensive than buy it in Australia. That is the reason why not many people can get their hand on a car. And when you own a car in Vietnam, you are considering to be one of the rich guy out there. If you have a car in Vietnam, you are rich. You know, you can use public transport or go by bike. It's not convenient, and you cannot afford a car. So what left? What's in between? It's a motorbike, just perfect. The motorbike is easy to use, it's fast, it's cheap, it can carry a lot of stuff too if you want to. Even when it feels very convenient when using motorbike back in Vietnam, I just feel so guilty of myself that I couldn't keep the promise to myself to use the bicycle for the rest of my life. I don't want to think about it, and I just want to escape that reality. I have to use something that I really had when I was a kid. After I met my wife, she told me that I should go and study abroad. It is so much better in Western country like Australia. So that has become my dream, because I believe that the air quality here is so much better than in Ho Chi Minh City. The people is better, the food is safer. You don't know how poisonous food is in Vietnam. I lived there for years and I know how poisonous the food is in Vietnam. But that's another topic for another video. I believe that if I study in Australia, I will not have to use a motorbike anymore, and I can use public transport instead. Before going to Australia, I have spent 1 week in Singapore, and I must say that I was amazed at how good public transport is in Singapore. It is so convenient. First, about the weather, Singapore is pretty much like Vietnam. It's really hot there. However, you don't feel hot at all because there is air conditioner everywhere you go. Why? They build a lot of underground tunnels. Whenever you enter a train station, you can get to everywhere in Singapore without have to get on the ground. You can just go under the ground in the tunnel where there's always air conditioner. It's always really cool down there. So my experience that when I use that public transport, when I use the trains, the bus in Singapore, I don't want to use cars or motorbike anymore because it's so convenient. It was so good. And I bring that expectation from Singapore to Australia, and Australia like slap into my face. Ugh. Damn it. Australia is nothing like Singapore right now all around the world, especially in Western countries, in developed countries. People are fighting for climate change. People are fighting to cut down the greenhouse gas emission. Since I stepped my foot in Australia, I always thinking about getting a car, even though I don't want to use a car. I just have to. Why? Let me show you what Australia actually look like. Okay, so do you notice anything? If you feel like me, when I was sitting on an airplane that fly into Perth airport, I thought that I was in some kind of countryside because it was so different than my home countries in Ho Chi Minh City or Singapore. House in Ho Chi Minh City is not very wide, but it's a high. You can build your house up to 5-6 floors. That is normal things in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. See, in Australia, just like in America, it's just a big country where there is so many lands that everyone can use. Most of the house has only one single floor or 2 floors if you are rich, and it's also the house is very big compared to house in Ho Chi Minh City. Most of the shopping mall in Western Australia, I don't think you can work there. You have to use a car to go there. Even with the KFCs or McDonald's, you can use a car to drive through and buy KFC or McDonald's here in Australia. Obviously, nobody wants to work. If I am working on the street right here in Western Australia, not in the CBD, okay, not in the central of the city, just a little bit out of the central city. If you are working, they will absolutely know that you are foreigners, you are not an Australian, because every Australian has their own car, every single one of them. Only 4.8% of households don't have cars. It's the statistics from 2021, and the rest of them, 95% of all other households own the cars or more. That's how crazy it is in Australia. It's just like in Ho Chi Minh City, the most dominant vehicle in Ho Chi Minh City is motorbike, where everyone own 1 or 2 motorbike in their house. It is exactly the same in Australia, but replace the motorbike for a car. Why? First, car is so much cheaper in Australia compared to Vietnam. The second thing is the way that Australia build their house. All of the thing is about the infrastructure here. It seems like if you have traveled to Australia, you will know that everything is built for cars. Even at the shopping mall, the car park is bigger than the shopping mall itself. Do you know what I mean? The car park is bigger than the shopping mall. How crazy is that? For example, if it takes me 1 hour to use the public transport to travel in Australia, it will only take me 30 minutes to use a car. That's how convenient it is. Cars can help you save time in Western Australia. So the question here is, how can we stop using our cars when everything else is built around the cars? Climate change is real. Everyone can feel the impact of climate change. Just a few weeks ago, there was a flood in Queensland or something, New South Wales, I don't remember. But yeah, you can see that even when you are rich, even when you live in developed country, Western country, you still gonna feel the impact of climate change. And it's really urgent to cut down our greenhouse gas emissions right now. And what I see in reality, especially in Australia, Australia, it just go against that, right? We should get away from fossil fuel, not like using more of it. I just don't see anything that gonna help with the transportation here. And they are actually building more lanes, highways for cars. Why you are building more highways for cars when car is the thing that emit a lot of greenhouse gas? There is a lot of study on the topic about what kind of transportation that's the best for the environment, that's environmental friendly, that we have the technology to apply right now. The best vehicle for transportation against greenhouse gas is public transport. It has been studied. They even write in the IPCC, if we're transitioning from building more infrastructure that support public transport, it's highly confident that we will reduce greenhouse gas emission in the transport sector. That's how effective it is. It has been proved. Why are we still wanting to build more roads for cars? Why do we still want to build more restaurants that can fit more cars, or build McDonald's that is for driving through cars? Why we don't build more trains, more lanes for bicycle, more place that people can walking around, more trees? So my hypothesis is that in the future, if we want to get away from fossil fuel, we have to learn from Singapore, the place where public transport is so convenient that the number of cars on the street is like you can count it with two hands. People in Singapore enjoy walking, enjoy using the bus, enjoy using the train. The public transport in Singapore is so cheap, it is so convenient. There's no reason why you have to use a car. When car is more expensive, especially in Singapore, they tax the car very heavily, and you cannot easily get a car into Singapore. The question here is not why people not stop using their car. The question is why the government, why the infrastructure is not supporting our transition away from the car. Right now, I don't see it at all in Australia. Why people are still building houses that are so big? Why we don't build more apartments where we can fit more people into one place? Why we don't build a shopping mall that is not stretching out, that is just not like taking a lot of lands just for the parking lot? Why we have to do that when the futures we're gonna shift away from cars? So what is the solution? If you still watching, you will understand the answer is easy. You just need to make public transport so much more convenient than using a personal vehicle like cars. When the public transport is so convenient, people will ultimately using it more. That's it. Using public transport not just gonna help us solve the climate crisis, it's gonna help us get less air pollution, less noise pollution, better health for everybody. Everyone gonna be healthier when they working more, when they using more bicycle. Isn't that gonna be a better place for everyone in the future, for our young people future? So why not starting now? Why building more highways? Why not building more railways? Why not building more bike lane, more infrastructure for bike, just like in Denmark where everyone using the bicycle as the main transportation? Let's make public transport, bicycle is our main vehicle for transportation. Let's do it. I have one dream in Australia that I'm gonna somehow have transition this program. That I'm not gonna build a house that is so wide, so big. If I have money, I'm gonna build a lot more apartment, because the land, we thought that Australia is really big and it had a lot of land to use. But I am telling you that not all the land are livable in Australia. So land is a limited resources. You cannot just hope that we still have a lot of land, not anymore. Also, the population in the world, or specifically in Australia, is rising really fast, and it's not gonna be sustainable to use the land like this anymore. Everyone cannot own a big house anymore. It's just not really sustainable. The future looking forward, we have to use our land really wisely to make sure that we have a sustainable future for everyone, especially for our children. And the next question is that, so maybe someone someone like me talk to the camera cannot change anything. I hope that somebody else with, more power in their hands can consider the way that they use the lens better. See you guys in the next video.